Good. All right, well, let's begin.
Yes, Rick, I'm sorry, I'm here.
All right, thank you. There was an executive held prior to this work session to discuss a contract for personnel items. Does anybody have any questions on this agenda at all? Dave, could we do the presentation? Yeah, I'm gonna do that right now. All right.
We have a short presentation tonight before we get into the board meeting itself. The Wyoming Valley West School District is making a donation, a contribution to the West Side Mutual Aid Association so that the West Side Mutual Aid Association will be able to purchase a firehouse, a smokehouse safety for our elementary school children. They've been doing this over a number of years, and to be able to purchase the smokehouse so that our children every year can learn fire prevention is a big step in the right direction for this district, as well as West Side Mutual Aid Association. So at this time, I would like to call the representatives up and we'll make the presentation.
What? 3/4 gonna miss the bank. Yeah. People are gonna ignore.
And John McLaughlin, our senior, will be making the presentation of the check for $15,000.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hey,
Get the real check. I don't think the bank will let you cash that big one.
Thank you, everybody. How big of a help this is. We don't have any income in the organization, and for 25 years we rented Pistons selling it. We lost this. I think the program is over. So
Well-
thank you so much for.
well, to be honest, I gotta, this is all due to the elementary PTO. Both all our elementary building PTOs and the high school and the middle school student council and our cafeteria. So I mean, they came together, amazing people.
Awesome. Thank you so much to everyone.
And Lee, we thank you for everything you've done for our children over the years and continue to do so.
We'll keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you both
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Moving on, so for the first time, we're gonna have Mr. Carl Hogan approach us. We're gonna have this Wyoming Valley West School District's independent auditors report. Mr. Hogan, please.
So tonight I'm going to go over, the results of the audit for June 30th, 2022. It's like a 70-page document, so I kind of put it into with 10 pages that I think are most important. So everybody's flipping through the pages and, kind of streamline the whole process. This is the first time, I guess this is about our 4th or 5th year doing the audit. And, this is in terms of, we've always had clean audits, but this is the first year that we had, some good financial results. Things were kind of trending, deteriorating a little bit in terms of the financial position of the school district. And this is the first year in 2022, a lot of things broke in the school district's way. So I think it's going to be a really good report in terms of, what you're going to see and where you ended up for the year ended June 30th, 2022. During this audit, we had a transition, we had the old finance manager kind of fallen off and the new one, Tom, came on board, kind of took the reins and really got us through the process. And, I kind of figured Tom did do a good job because my staff didn't complain about him at all. So, I figure if I don't hear anything, things must be going good. So. So the first 3 pages that I have here tonight are the independent auditors report and the reason why you're hiring us. This is a new independent auditors report. They kind of expanded it a little bit from previous years. Some of the biggest changes in the auditors report is the opinion paragraph that you're seeing there on page 1. The opinion paragraph was kind of buried within the auditor's report previously. Now it's at the top, basically stating that the numbers that are being presented in the audit report tonight are fairly presented for the year ended June 30th, 2022. Another exciting thing, you implemented a new GASB this year related to leases. About as exciting as it gets related to an audit. So we implemented that change within your financial reporting model for the year as well. The only other big change within the independent auditors report is on page 2, which is on the second page there. Under auditors responsibilities. I mean, our responsibilities have never changed. But what they've done here is kind of outline them in 5 bullet points. Previously, it was just that first paragraph there, but they thought it was important, even though, it's implied what our responsibilities are to actually explicitly outline them within the auditor's report. Finally, the last couple sections of the auditor's report kind of outlines our responsibility that we're taking for, the 70-page document and separate it into different sections. The required supplementary information, there's 2 sections that are really important, especially to the board. The first one being the management discussion and analysis. And that's like on it's on pages 4 through 14, which isn't within here. But if everybody's not going to read the whole document, I really encourage everybody to read at least those pages because it kind of gives a brief analysis for the year ended June 30th, 2022, the financial activities of the school district is prepared by management and gives management the opportunity not to talk about only June 30th, 2022, but also to talk about any kind of future factors or any kind of things that are going to impact the school district in 2023 and beyond. The other section that they talk about and the required supplementary information there in the first statement I'm going to go over tonight is the general fund budgetary schedule, and it should be the 4th page here or page 50 of the audit report. This is kind of pushed in the back of the audit report because of the fact that the budgeted numbers, we don't audit your budget. We only audit the actual results of the year. So it's important for analysis to have this in here because it may be the most important thing the board does on an annual basis, putting together the budget. And then you kind of compare how you did with your budget with how you ended up for the year, actual numbers. So like I was saying, this is where you're going to see the positive financial results for the year ended June 30th, 2022. And this budgetary comparison schedule is broken out by revenues, expenditures, and other financing sources. So as you can see up at the top, your revenues, budgeted revenues were $85.1 million. They actually had a positive variance of almost $1.6 million. So when you break it out, the local source revenues were $1.5 million more than budgeted. And I'm seeing this across all the school districts in the state of Pennsylvania. Better than anticipated transfer taxes, better than anticipated earned income taxes, better than anticipated collections for real estate taxes. So taking that into account, the positive state source revenues, there were some appropriations better than anticipated during the budget process of about $1.4 million. And then you're going to see there your federal source revenues were actually under budget by $1.2 million because you had budgeted COVID money that you actually didn't have to use during the rest of money during the year. So as you went through the year, you had anticipated to use some of that money and you didn't actually have to use it. So at the end of the day, your revenues were a positive variance of $1.6 million on an $85 million budget. So that's within line with what was budgeted year over year. Now, what you're going to see here in the expenditures down below, this is where the things kind of broke your way in terms of things that weren't anticipated. So total expenditures were budgeted at $85.5 million. They came in less than budget by $81.7 million for a positive variance of $3.7 million. So if you actually take the analysis and you take at a more granular, looking at it, you're going to see that your cyber and your tuition related to other school districts came in less than budget. Also, because of staffing issues that the district had, there was a lot of expenses related to salaries and wages that weren't anticipated, that didn't actually come to fruition as well. So when you take some of those bigger items there, and some things were up, some things are down, things really broke your way in terms of expenditures being less than budget by $3.7 million year over year. So when you take the positive variance related to your revenues and the positive variance related to your expenditures, you actually had a positive variance in your fund balance for the year ended June 30th, 2022 of $6 million. So as in previous years, you were kind of teetering on having a little bit of a deficit within your fund balance. So at the end of June 30th, 2021, you had about a $600,000 deficit in fund balance. You added $6 million to your fund balance. So now you have some wiggle room in terms of having a positive fund balance of $5.4 million at the end of the year. Now, that's still less than what PDE allows you to have within your fund balance. PDE allows you to have unassigned fund balance of 8% of your next year's expenditure budget. So when you take the $5.4 million, you apply it to your next year's expenditure budget, that's still within the 8%. So this is great news for the school district in terms of having some ability now to, when you're going through the budget process. Previously, you didn't really have anything to work with. Now you have something to work with. And I know you've already implemented stuff for 22, 23 on the expenditure side. So like I've talked about in the past, a lot of the structural issues that the school district has related to its local source revenues and tax revenues still exists. And a lot of the work that still needs to be done with the district still needs to be done, on the expenditure side. The good news is the state has been, in this budget here and in 22-23 has increased the school district's basic education funding and some of the other funding, which is great for the school district. And also, this is also giving the school district the ability to use the remainder of that ESSER funding for one-time expenditures such as capital items. So I think we talked about this last year. You want to, it's one-time revenue. You want to use it for one-time expenditures and capital projects. And I know you have some planned projects at both the high school and the middle school to spend that on. So any questions, concerns?
When you said our deficit last year, we went into the 2021-2022 school year with was a little over $1 million deficit. Is that correct?
It was $500,000 in the previous year. So what that means is this is on the modified accrual basis of accounting, which means we're going to take your current assets over your current liabilities. There's no long-term debt associated with this modified accrual basis of accounting. So basically, if you want to think about it, some of your 22 or 21-22 revenue had to pay prior year bills of about $600,000. So
Thank you.
So the next page I have here on page 19 is just the same information we just went over without the budgeted information there for the general fund. But I just wanted to point out too, you have a capital projects fund. During the current year, you did issue some debt related to some renovation projects that you did do during 2021, 2022, mostly related to roof replacement projects within the district. Which were paid from the general fund, and then those bond proceeds were, transferred over to the general fund to offset that. And then also the district has a debt service fund that they, service all of their debt service for all of their long-term debt. Within this debt service fund, it's kind of a little bit misleading. It says you have $11 million, but previously, before you were getting all this COVID or ESSER money back in 2008 and 2009, there was the financial crisis then. And at that point in time, the school district was able to take advantage of a loan program through the programs that were being put out then through the ERA program. And what this program is here is that it's interest-free. You got interest-free debt in 2008, 2009, but those bonds operate a little bit differently than your typical bonds in as the monies are accumulating within a sinking fund, and when they become due, they'll be paid off. So I think that comes up in 2027, 2029 in that time frame. So that $11 million is restricted for those bonds, but at the same time, it's still got to sit there until that point. And then also you're going to see there in the debt service fund, you're going to see the negative local source revenues. That's just because those funds are invested in U.S. Treasury bills, and those U.S. Treasury bills did not have a good year during 2021-22, but at the end of the day, if you hold them to maturity, you don't lose any money on them at all. The next page I'm going to go over is on page number 17. 17 is the balance sheet. So we just went over the ins and the outs, the revenues, the expenditures. And this is just as of a point in time where your assets and your liabilities are, and the excess of those liabilities over the assets being the fund balance we just talked about. So as you can see, in the case of the school district, most of its assets are within, liquid cash at year end. And then also there's amounts due from other governments. PDE kind of operates on a reimbursement basis. There's expenditures you incur during the year that aren't reimbursed until after year end, predominantly related to those liabilities that you're seeing down below. And then the due from other funds is the amount that was due from the capital projects fund. So you issued debt and you just hadn't reimbursed the general fund for those capital projects that were done. So shortly thereafter year end, that money was transferred over to reimburse the general fund for those roofing projects. So the liabilities, for the most part, everything is current as of June 30th, 2022. Probably the biggest liability that any school district has is their accrued salaries, payroll, withholdings, benefits. Teachers work through June 30th, but they get paid out through August 31st. There's certain benefits that they earn through June 30th for pension that don't get paid out until, in August, September, at some time frame after that. So basically, this liability of almost $10 million represents the monies that they earned and the benefits that they earned through June 30th, but were subsequently paid after year end. And there's that positive fund balance that I talked about at the $5.5 million. So some things you need to think about as a board, as this amount becomes bigger, it can get in excess of 8%. And when that amount, if it gets in excess of the 8% of your next year's expenditure budget, you have to either commit those fund balances or transfer them to another fund. A lot of school districts like to commit that fund balance above and beyond the 8%, so they have some flexibility within their general fund. A lot of times, some school districts will move the money over to the capital reserve fund within the capital projects fund, and you can't move it back. So a lot of school districts will commit fund balance, and then you could just uncommit the fund balance for a different purpose if it needs to be used for a different purpose other than the original intended commitment. And then you have your capital projects fund, the $2.8 million that's still remaining from the bond proceeds that were issued during the year. Good. All right.
Thank you.
The next page we're going to talk about is page number 22. In addition, we also audit your food service fund. Once again, food service fund, we're seeing this like in all the school districts, not only having good years within their general fund because of the favorable economic conditions, but also within the food service fund because of the fact that I know you have a free lunch program already, but because of COVID-19, the reimbursement rates were such, and also you received emergency cost reimbursements and also supply chain reimbursements from the state through the SSO program. So as a result, the amounts that you receive for reimbursement for these amounts well exceeded your costs, and I'm seeing this across the board to the tune of $1.3 million for the year ended June 30th, 2022. So at the beginning of the year, you had about a $970,000 net position, and you added $1.3 million within that net position. Now, what's going to probably happen is when Tom submits his reports to the state, they're going to say your net position is a little bit too high regarding this. A lot of school districts will kind of maybe allocate or use some of this funding for capital items or one-time capital items. In addition, you could also look for, additional expenses within the general fund that you could reimburse that kind of benefit the food service fund as well, to try to, spend some of those funds down. And then the last page, so the first 3 pages and the last page and the budgetary comparison schedule are the most important. This is just kind of a summary of the auditor's results. Number one there is just pretty much reiterating that you had the clean, unmodified audit opinion. There was nothing that rose to the level, even though we talked about management with recommendations, for improving processes and so forth like that. And we have conversations all the time, but there's nothing that rises to a level that we consider a significant deficiency or a material weakness that would need to be reported within this audit report. And the same thing with any kind of instances of non-compliance. Also, we're required to do a federal or a single audit related to your federal financial assistance that you received, since you received over $750,000 of federal assistance. We have to perform the single audit. So in the case of 2021, 2022, because of all the monies that you received through the child nutrition cluster, that was a major program that we tested. And then also we had to test the ESSER program. So by definition, the federal government has defined the ESSER program as a high-risk program, so we had to test it. So this is kind of a program that not only are we testing, but I know Tom says in a couple months that Deloitte has been hired by the state of Pennsylvania to come in and audit some of the funds. And they're looking at a lot of different things that we're looking at. They're a lot more picky in terms of this stuff and what the state's having them to come and look at. So I wouldn't be surprised, if you might, get some recommendations from them as well on how to improve, your usage or your documentation of those funds. So, but that concludes my presentation. Like I said, all good news, and hopefully some of the things that you've done during the budget process for 22, 23 kind of piggybacks off this and continues to improve the financial condition of the school district, because there was those few years that things were kind of teetering, and if one thing went really bad, there could have been a situation. So
We're working on it very hard.
Is this something that will be put on our website or?
Yes.
yes, I'll get the full document, and we'll put that on the website and so forth. It's a 70-page document. So, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Hope? Mr.
Hey,
Hart?
Rick. Hey, Rick,
Yes,
can you hear me?
yes.
I just wanted to make a quick comment, and I know there's factors that have affected the outcome of this audit positively, but I also think this board buckled down, and when it was really tough to make some decisions to develop a turnaround plan, I think we came forward and we put things in a perspective of where we made some tough decisions, but some long-term beneficial decisions from a financial perspective. So I know it's just a start, but I just think that needs to be noted.
Yes, thank you, Bill, and I concur. I mean, we increased security considerably, and we worked very hard to try to get our buildings as safe as possible. And this board worked very hard to make some swings in this budget, because we were balancing pretty well. So overall, I think our health is good and still growing, I hope.
Well, and plus too, I like to point out, the last 3 years have been super weird. If you think 1920, you had those last 3 months, and it's made your job hard as a board to budget, because during 1920, you didn't have those last 3 months and you have all those expenditures. So that kind of helped the school district in that year. 2021, you went through the budget process, thinking you were going to be going to school in September, then you didn't have school in September. So you're kind of putting these budgets together based upon, not that great of trend information. So hopefully now, starting with 21, 22, 22, 23, you could starting a trend analysis and, starting to be able to put consistent budgets together based upon, good now, and, good, steady, in-person learning and so forth.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan, very, very much.
Thanks.
Want to go around the table? Does anybody have anything for work session that they'd like to bring forward? Brian, you good?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm good, thanks.
Tom, you good?
Yeah.
Jack, Mr.
Good.
Savage? No. Mr. Tosh, you good? I would just like to note that we are meeting with our transportation company for our vans next week. Some more to come on that. All right, moving on to our regular meeting. I'd like to call to order the Wyoming Valley West School District regular April meeting. That's it's a little after 7. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pazinski,
Yes, here.
Mr. Damascus,
Here.
Mr. Hardwick,
Here.
Mr. Keating, Mr. Usavich,
Here.
Mr. Perfetto,
Here.
Mr. Majer, Mrs. Cassatt. Here. Mr. Kamis.
Present. We have a quorum, moment of silence, followed by the salute to our flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God.
Student representatives, Mr. McLaughlin.
For updates from the high school, Marissa Mooney, Lauren Ritchie, Anaya Thomas, and Lexi Nastansky were selected by faculty as seniors of the month for the month of March. The students will be honored at a breakfast with a faculty guest of their choosing. They will receive a certificate from administration, and their photograph will be featured in the local newspaper and on the high school webpage. Congratulations to these seniors. The Peer-to-Peer Club hosted an Easter egg hunt on Tuesday, April 4th. Select students are participating in the National Spanish exam, which is taking place on April 11th to April 14th. On April 1st, 11 WVW students spent their morning competing in the Marywood Math Contest against neighboring school districts. In the Level 1 contest, Valley West freshman Elijah Sirota achieved third place overall. An impressive first place finish was earned by sophomore Daniel Dempsey. Both students will receive a cash award from Marywood University's Math and Computer Science Club. Congratulations to both of the WVW winners and to all of the participants in both the Level 1 and Level 2 contests. Thank you to Mr. Shook and Mr. Cunningham for helping to prepare the students for the exam, as well as supervising their attendance at the contest. Over 50 students attended the honors English trip to New York City today. Fifth grade orchestra students are participating in a workshop on Friday, April 14th. High school seniors and juniors are participating in the Junior Leadership Job Fair, which is on April 18th. The high school is offering ASVAB testing on Wednesday, April 19th. The test is free to any junior or senior that is interested in joining the military. Friday, April 21st, the sophomore party will be held at Amber Palace in Wilkes-Barre. Senior junior prom tickets are on sale now. The ticket cost is $65 or $130 per couple. The prom will be held on May 12th at the Woodlands. Tuesday, April 25th is the National Honor Society induction ceremony. It is in the high school gym at 6 o'clock. Congratulations to Madison Chaco and Aiden Slackey for being recognized as WVIA's Artist of the Week for their roles played in the spring musical Footloose. And the deadline to purchase a yearbook is May 1st. Their cost is $50. Thank you, and that is all from the high school.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Superintendent's comments, Mr. Tosh, please.
Thank you, Mr. Camus. Chester Street recently held STEAM Day on Tuesday, April 4th. The event lasted the entire day. The community members did presentation. Classes were held in science, math, engineering, and art. Chester Street PTO sponsored this event. We'd like to thank all members for their hard work and dedication. On Saturday, April 1st, 11 Wyoming Valley West students spent their morning competing in the Marywood Math Contest against neighboring school districts. In Level 1 contest, freshman Elijah Sirota achieved third place overall. An impressive first place was earned by sophomore Daniel Dempsey. Both students will receive cash award from Marywood University Math and Computer Science Club. Congratulations to Daniel and Elijah for this award. Also, congratulations to both of the winners and all the participants in both levels 1 and 2. Thank you to Mr. Shook, Mr. Cunningham, and Mrs. Leary for helping prepare the students for the exam as well as supervising their attendance at the contest. Thank you to the high school administration for supporting the students and their participation in the various local math competitions. I'd also like to announce again, in addition to the robocall that was made, High School Student Council Advisor, Ms. Christine Sickler, was recently presented with the 2023 Region H Adrien Wright High School Advisor of the Year Award for her dedication to student leadership and excellence. It's a very well-deserved honor, and Ms. Sickler also happens to be present in the back of the auditorium. So congratulations, Ms. Sickler, on a very well-deserved honor. We're very fortunate to have Ms. Sickler, Mr. Chamola on the high school level, on the middle school level, Ms. Derwin and Mr. Munsing running our student councils. They provide an enormous number of opportunity for our students and empower them to be the leaders of tomorrow. This Sunday is the middle school orchestra concert directed by Mrs. Suzanne Hall. The concert will take place at 2 p.m. and is free and open to the public. And having attended a number of these concerts over the years, I highly recommend them. They are terrific events. At Dana Street School, Mr. DePrimo reports that Black History Month laser light show by Prismatic Magic was held on April the 4th. It was an educational and entertaining experience that incorporated art, culture, history into a music and laser light experience. And finally, over at State Street, Mr. Needle reports that on Friday, March the 31st, students who received armor badges as part of State Street's positive behavior support plan were entered into a raffle, and they received prizes as a reward for their positive behavior in school. The second grade class will be attending the circus tomorrow, Thursday, April the 13th, and on Friday, April the 14th. One student from each class will be named Spartan Spotlight Student of the Third Marking Period in recognition of outstanding effort, both academically and behaviorally in the third quarter. Thank you, Mr. Camus.
Thank you, Mr. Tosh. Statements from interested citizens. We have two signed in this evening, Desiree Schrader.
Good evening. Hi. Is that good enough? You can hear me?
Yes.
So I'm here today as a concerned parent. I have some questions that I'm hoping I can get answers for that I've called my child's school about and haven't been met with the results that I was looking for. I have 3 children who are currently attending Dana Street Elementary, 5th grade, 3rd grade, and 2nd grade. My biggest concerns are the fact that it doesn't appear to be that the curriculum is being followed on a routine basis. My children are coming home on a regular basis and telling me about what Disney movies they watched that day. I can tell you on 4 or 5 separate occasions, full Disney movies are being shown instead of education being provided from the curriculum. I recently started documenting this so that I could have a paper trail of such, and I have since March 31st, 5 movies that my kids have watched. It most often is occurring in their special classes, but it's also occurring in the classroom. I would love to know what's going on and why the curriculum isn't being followed. Why is my 5th grade child watching Bluey instead of being offered a lesson from the music curriculum? That was on picture day. All of my kids watched movies that day because the auditorium was occupied, so they were sent out elsewhere. But instead of being provided with some kind of curriculum, they watched Bluey and they watched The Amazing Spider-Man and Friends. I'm looking for some kind of feedback as what that has to do with any kind of curriculum.
The only, Desiree, the only feedback I could give you is you're gonna have to give me the opportunity to look into it. If you give me your number, I can call you tomorrow. I'll get on it first thing. But again, I need some time to look into it tomorrow, and I'll certainly do that.
Okay, I will absolutely give you the information, but again, as I said, this is happening on a routine basis. We've watched Turning Red, Land Before Time, Winnie the Pooh, Bad Guys, Bluey, Amazing Spider-Man and Friends, Littlefoot. And it's happening on a routine basis. Is the curriculum not turned in prior?
Curriculum should be followed. And again, I don't know if it's, I mean, one of the issues, and it's no secret, school districts are having trouble in terms of getting subs. I don't know if that's the case, but again, it would be something that you would need to just give me a little time on it tomorrow. And if you want to call me, before noon, I'll have an answer for you, or hopefully I'll have an answer earlier. But yes, they should be following the curriculum.
In regards to the inability to find substitutes, I know that you can only do so much, but how are we combining, putting 60 children in one classroom?
The irony is we talked about that in our executive session tonight for 30 minutes. And it's a problem for all school districts. It's not an excuse, but it's a problem. Kids aren't going into education and there's not a lot of subs out there. So we're trying to be as creative as we can at times, but yes, I'm very concerned. We're all very concerned when we do have the amount of students at times that we have to combine the classes. We don't like doing it, but again, there are times that we have to do it.
Can you tell me why classrooms are being combined on a daily basis in my daughter's 5th grade level? They're claiming that it's easier to teach that way. And every day for a certain amount of time, she's put into a room. My daughter does have an IEP in place, and I've had to call and give her the opportunity to be removed from that setting where she's in a classroom with 60 children. How is anybody learning in that?
Yeah, that's something, again, you're going to have to give me the opportunity to look into it.
Okay. The other big concern I have is I just listened to that young man talk about our budget, yet I'm getting papers sent home that are asking for donations of $50 per family for the kids to be participating in Fun Day. Now, it's not mandating it. It's not saying that if they don't send it in, they can't participate, but it's requesting that families send in $50 for the children to be able to have the best fun day ever. We're a Title I district. These kids are on a free lunch program, and this form that came home is saying that if you send in the $50, they're going to put your name on the back of the shirt. I beg you, do any of you really think that's a great idea, and that children aren't going to start to differentiate? Oh, you donated money, but you didn't. Your name's on the shirt and mine's not. Now, I'm of the fortunate situation where I can send the $50 in, but I know most of our families can't. And
The
this was
PTO,
already
is that coming from the PTO?
Yeah, this was apparently already approved that their names are gonna go on these shirts. So I feel obligated to send in $50 so that my kids aren't outcast, that, hey, my name didn't go on the shirt and now everybody knows I didn't send in $50.
Do they do fundraisers? I'm sorry. have they-
Mr. Tosh is gonna look into that.
That'll be
kinda
something
concern-
also. I'll get you an answer at that.
That's.
Yeah, you shouldn't have. That shouldn't be.
Fundraisers, no?
The-
Fundraisers?
They've done tons of fundraisers, yet they're asking for a $50 donation from each family, and they've already said that they have a DJ booth, a dunk tank, an ice cream truck, Gatorades, and there was something else that have been donated. Yet they're still asking for this $50 donation. So where can I find where these funds have been allocated to?
Ma'am, do you belong to the PTO? Are you involved?
I
with-
do, but it's,
They don't discuss that in their PTO meetings or anything?
there's never been any minutes covered on it, no.
If I remember correctly, being on the PTO, they do get audited.
Yes,
Their books should be audited, and that was many years ago, but
and the district secretary has a copy of all expenditures.
The district secretary.
She
Okay.
should have,
So I can
and she
get
should have
copies of
copies
that.
of the bylaws for the PTO.
But as a concern on a higher level, if you can do something to stop these shirts with these names of who donated, I think that would be in the best interest of most of our students to not be able to be putting families' names on the back of the shirts for who donated the money versus who didn't. We see enough bullying in the school districts, let alone now making it public who has given money and who hasn't. But so, yeah, like I said, I'm here as a concerned parent. I'm seeing things happening that I'm calling about on a regular basis and getting brushed off. Getting told, we'll look into that and never getting a call back.
I can guarantee you, you'll have an answer
My,
tomorrow.
my daughter has an IEP in place that's been violated 3 times since January. And the only reason it stopped is because I said, if it's violated again, I will get an advocate and I will come in. It is a legally binding document.
So, Ms. Rader, if I may interrupt here just for a minute, if you can, please get those in writing, those dates that you have with the movies, to Mr. Tosh. He will update you and the rest of this board as to exactly what was going on, what the whole scenario is, because I'm curious as well. Like, I would like to know. So he will be doing that and he will
And
get
I
you.
did
the answer.
inquire as to if we're showing a video in the classroom, why is it not having to be approved by Mr. DePrimo prior? Why can't we just be at liberty to show children finding red and we're entitled to a free and appropriate public education? What does Bluey have to do with a free and appropriate public education?
So I believe the teachers have some liberty into their classroom if they're caught up on their work. I believe. I know my children got the privilege of watching some movies as they were caught up in some of their classes.
Sure, for 15 minutes at the end of the day
Absolutely.
when you're having a snack, but my kids haven't been taught a music curriculum in weeks.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Tosh will look into that and he will update you and he will give the rest of this board an answer. And as far as the PTO, that's a little bit separate from this board.
Okay.
You know, historically, when my children went through, you know, it was all directed by the PTO fund. It was not sponsored by the school district itself.
Typically, though, the board has some form of control over everything that's occurring within the school, though, correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
And without you bringing it forward to us with those names on that shirt, we would have never known and something could have went very bad on that. So we will look into that as well.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have your number. I'll give you a call.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am. Yeah, what approach is?
She's with me. She was,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
I got that taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie Wren? You're good? Okay. All right, perfect. Moving on. May I have a motion to approve the regular March 8th of 2023 board meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposition. May I have a motion to approve the special meeting of March 17th, 2023 for the sale of Schuyler Avenue?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No abstention. Committee reports. Mr. DeBascus, you have anything this evening?
Nothing for this evening. Rick, thank you.
Where are we going here? Mr. Savage, would you have anything for education this
No,
evening?
Mr. Camus, but I will have for the next meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Hardwick, do you have anything this evening?
I just would, I'm gonna lean on Mr. Tosh because I haven't been able to participate as much as I'd like to. I know there's been activity both in the ESSERS and the special education, which will continue tomorrow and is a small part of the legislative meeting as well. But Dave, I don't know if there's anything you can add with other ESSERS other than we're working with buildings and grounds to make sure these funds are used.
I would agree with that, Bill. We're moving ahead with the ESSERS plan. I think Mr. Rivera, in terms of some of the things he has planned at the high school and the middle school, they're moving forward. But I think as we start to conclude the school year, you'll really see it ramp up. But I think in addition to the committee that you chair with the ESSERS, the consultant, Kim Wallach, has given us a good foundation with it moving forward. And as a matter of fact, we'll probably, I'll find out tomorrow morning, we may be on a Zoom with her to close some things up with ESSERS tomorrow.
Yes, and I would just add, thank you again to the board for approving the use of the consultant, Kim Walk. Consider it an investment, not a cost, because she has brought a lot to the table.
I concur with that.
Anything else, Mr. Hardwick?
No, I'm good, Mr. Camus.
All right, thank you. Just a couple of dates I have, we had, I contacted with SiteLog, IQ, they should be, next month, they should be giving our asset survey. So anxiously awaiting that, anxiously. Mr. Tosh, our executive or legislative meeting, what time is that tomorrow? here?
It's tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
So we will be meeting once again with the legislative branch to discuss some of the juvenile problems and some of the discipline problems that we have in our buildings and trying to get a handle on that, and that's it. I'd like to update you on the incidents that we had at the high school. Total report of nine incidents at the high school, 8 juvenile petitions, criminal complaints 1, non-traffic citations, we had 6. Possession of a controlled substance, we had 1. Disorderly conduct, we had 2, and we had 1 terroristic threat. So we'll move to the middle school. 18 incidents in all. We had 9 criminal arrests, 16 citations. No? No, we're not getting into the specifics. All right. So some of the way this report's written, there was a little bit of specifics in here I'd like to not get into. Just, there was 18 incidents here in the middle school. And at State Street, we had two physical altercations. That's all I have. Moving on, general recommended action items, 1 through 5. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pazinski,
Yes.
Mr. Damascus,
Yes.
Mr. Hardwick,
Yes.
Mr. Usavich,
Yes.
Mr. Perfetto,
Yes.
Mrs. Cassatt,
Yes.
Mr. Camus.
Yes. Moving on, staff recommended action items, 1 through 19. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have-
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pazinski.
Yes.
Mr. Damascus,
Yes.
Mr. Hardwick,
Yes.
Mr. Usavich,
Yes.
Mr. Perfetto,
Yes.
Mrs. Cassatt,
Yes.
Mr. Camus.
Yes. May I have a motion to accept and approve the following bills for payment?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pazinski.
Yes.
Mr. Damascus.
Yes.
Mr. Hardwick,
Yes.
Mr. Usavich.
Yes.
Mr. Perfetto,
Yes.
Mrs. Cassatt,
Yes.
Mr. Camus.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pazinski.
Yes.
Mr. Damascus.
Yes.
Mr. Hardwick,
Yes.
Mr. Usavich,
Yes.
Mr. Perfetto,
Yes.
Mrs. Cassatt,
Yes.
Mr. Camus.
Yes. Board member comments. I did that, right? That doesn't matter, didn't it? Those for payment, the finance manager? Yeah. Is that okay? I did, all right. Mr. Tabasco?
good.
Mrs. Cassatt?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Good. Mr. Savage?
Mr. Camus, I would only like to mention that one of our former employees passed away about 2 weeks. I'm going to tell you about 2 weeks ago. Michelle McCabe. Michelle was a very, very strong proponent of education. She was very strong-willed too, as you can deal with anybody or anybody who's dealt with her. But it was a loss. I just want to let you know that.
Thank you, Mr. Savage.
Mhm.
Mr. Tosh, do you have something?
Yeah, just 2 quick comments. We have a number of employees every month that are on the list that are retiring, but I would like to point out 2 tonight. Nancy Kuiper has been a secretary here at the middle school for a number of years. She's done a tremendous job. We want to wish her the best in her retirement. And one of the other individuals, Deborah Bernatoni, has been the middle school lead cleaner since 1990 in this building. And Deborah Bernatoni has been just a terrific employee. We thank her for her dedication, her commitment, and her loyalty to her job here at Wyoming Valley West, spanning 34 years. I have great admiration for the amount of work that she's put in over time. And I can remember when I first became the principal here at the middle school, I had a number of teachers that would come to me after school and ask, can I assign Deborah Bernatoni to their classrooms to clean it, because she was so good at what she did. So we wish Deborah Bernatoni and Nancy Kuiper the best in a well-deserved retirement.
Thank you, Mr. Tosh. I just have one question for Mr. Whittiak. Mr. Whittiak, could you give this board an update as to where we stand with the state audit? Please.
I submitted another RFI today. And I don't know if there's an end coming. I did actually ask them if they could conclude the RFI period as we're starting our ESTR review and then our title review. Tomorrow marks the 6-month anniversary. So we're very far past the normal audit time frame.
So. Well, that's a little concerning to me, at least, but if it's longer than normal. Mr. Whittiak, are we getting them all the information that they are asking for?
Everything we could find. Occasionally there's things like old contracts. We don't have all of them. This last one, they were looking for the statements of financial interest. We were missing 2 of them. I mean, we give them everything we have, but we don't necessarily have everything they look for.
So contracts, I mean, the audit period is 17, is it 17 through, no, is it 17 through 21?
Yes,
We don't have contracts from 2017 available?
not for every contractor we work with, no. But also, I think there's some that didn't have a signed contract. They may have had a board approval, but just never a formal signature on both sides.
Okay. Is there anything else you could think of off the top of your head missing?
No, I mean, they've really hit contracts hard and contractors hard and transportation very, very hard. So they've really asked for everything you could imagine in those 2 areas.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Whittiak. Appreciate it. Our next scheduled meetings, the May work session will be Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023 at 7 p.m. here, and our regular May meeting will be Wednesday, May 10th, 2023 at 7 p.m. May I have a motion to adjourn?